You know, the other place we're so tight.
That's true.
We're right there.
Yeah, but
you're the first one in line. You're the first one.
I know, I'm on the end.
You're on the end there.
Would you like to have your seat?
Thank you so much.
No,
We're gonna do a couple things
I'm
before you
very
get to it,
happy
right?
here. I'm very
In
happy.
fact, I'd like for you. I'm going to hold off. We're good. Okay, Goldie.
Yes, sir.
This is the first ever formal Rye Town meeting
Yes.
at 3:50. Would you do us the honor of leading us in the pledge just a couple of days before Thanksgiving? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Goldie. Thanks very much. Okay, now Councilwoman Brett's on her way, so I'd like to hold off of your presentation if we could, Mr. Ford, because I'd like for her to hear it. But in any case, I guess the first item on the agenda, well, do we have a quorum? Do you think we do have a quorum with 3 people?
My understanding is yes.
I don't think so either. I don't want to make any mistakes here. We're going to hold off on any formal votes. Don't want any mistakes
Fine, you
here.
can say
Hang in there, George.
I think we need 4. So what I'm going to do is, we can certainly hear comments from the public. So, Goldie, would you kick us off?
Might as well. Might as well talk. You don't have a quorum. Okay. What I want to tell you is that Rye Town Park, Oakland Beach, is incredible. It's incredible. It's the best beach in the whole area. It's incredible. The only thing I love when I go there, I love watching the moon come up and oh my God, it's just beautiful, and the water and the boats and everything there, and the beach is incredible and everything. But I love the concerts. And under the pavilion, the first pavilion, it's wonderful to have concerts. And Billy does incredible things there with the concerts. The only other thing I'm upset about, and I love doggies, don't misunderstand. I've always had doggies. I've always raised animals, all kinds. Okay? But there's still, some of them are running wild, and some of them are leashed and still running in the park, and I don't know whether that's good or not, because sometimes they don't pick up the crap. They just don't pick it up, and there's a problem. But other than that, he's incredible, Billy, and I love passing out the programs, and I think it's the best park in the whole area. It's incredible. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Goldie. Thank you. And just for the people at home, Billy is Bill Lawyer. Bill, how many concerts are we up to now? 7. I think Goldie wants one more for next year, so I want you to talk about it, look at that budget, see if we can't sneak one more in. Maybe get one of the high school groups, maybe get in at a half price or something like that. But I couldn't agree with you more, Goldie. Watching the sun come up, the moon, rise over the water on a wonderful summer day, I don't think there's any place better to be.
Well, it would also be nice if we had the high school bands there. If you got Rye High School Band to go, if you get Portchester High School Band to be there, that's wonderful. I've tried to get them at the Capitol Theater here and let the parents come and let the grandparents and all the relatives and friends and everybody come to see them. But at Oakland Beach, I'll bet they would come. We could try.
That's not a bad idea.
We could
Get
try.
a band competition.
We could try.
I
was supposed to go tonight to the Portchester High School Jazz Band rehearsal. I said, how am I going to do that? How am I going to do that? Can't come here and there. But this is the first time, and I've always been at the rehearsals there, so I got to come here. And that's what I did. And I don't even know if the band will have the rehearsal tonight, because the 18-year-old Joseph Torrey died in a car accident almost a block from my house, and it was mobbed. We had all the governments and the high school and the middle school and all the schools and everything there. And it's just, I don't like when mothers lose their children. It's a horror story. It's a horror story. So I just want you to know that I think maybe we can make the jazz bands or the high school marching band or Rye High School. I've been there before too. I love Rye High School also. So maybe we could get the bands from the schools in Rye and in Portchester to play at the concerts.
Thank you.
I don't know.
Now that you've mentioned it, Goldie, I know everybody here on the board and everybody here in our community, our hearts go out to the Turry family. Their loss of Joseph, tragic loss.
It was tragic.
And maybe maybe if we could, we'll just take a moment of silence for quiet contemplation and to send our prayers to the Turry family. Thank you. Mr. Slack, Councilman Slack, did you have anything about the Rye? Did you start about the bands?
I was just going to say that Rye has an outstanding jazz band, and it might be fun to have a battle of the bands with what I'm sure is also an excellent Portchester band. So
That'd be great.
That would be interesting.
Billy, would you try and get that moving?
We got a jazz band.
Excellent.
Nowotnik may also have a band.
Perfect. So
Portchester
let's
Jazz
get
Band is-
Battle of the Rye-Town Bands.
Battle of the
Right.
Rye-Town
Oh, that's
Jazz-
right.
the jazz
Rye-Town
band.
Park Bands. Rye-Town
There
Park
we go.
Bands.
I love it. That's a
Rye-Town
great
Park
idea.
Bands. That'd be good.
Got that, Fred?
Fred? That'll get, we turn it into a fundraiser for the park.
I was thinking maybe the mayor of Portchester and supervisor Wright can have a little boxing match.
Boxing match, just sort of.
See how
I'm not going against this guy. You kidding? These guys green
You
berets.
see how
now
he
we're
gets?
thinking. Now we're thinking.
I go, and it's like that the new movie out, right?
Which one?
There's a new one. You got Robert De Niro fighting
yes.
Sly Stallone.
Yeah.
Well, any other comments from the public? All right. Well, I'll tell you what. I think since the management report is written, if you're okay with Mr. Ford, I'm going to go to begin to ask Mr. Lawyer to give the management report because I think Ms. Brett, if she has any questions, we can ask them and that kind of thing. So, if you could go to the management report.
Okay, yes, you
Thank
all
you.
have a copy of it in your packets.
Yep.
And just to run through, we cover the same topics every report. We cover the maintenance. The highlight of the maintenance is that the dumpster project is finally completed. And everything's functioning, of course, and we have the winter basically to get through before we're going to see it, how it's going to operate during the peak of the season. But that's definitely the good news. And we're the process of getting the rest of the trees that were recommended for removal removed. We contacted the bidder who had the low bid, and he's going to start the work sometime after Thanksgiving, and he says it'll all be done by the end of the year. So as far as the parking, I have a little bit in here about the dog issues, but we can save that for later. I actually included the wording from the Rye ordinance. And we had a very fruitful meeting last Friday, as I mentioned in here, with the Rye officials, and I was there sort of representing Rye-Town Park, I guess you could say. And so that's that. The other issues are the programs and things that we're doing. You know, during the off-season, we have a number of groups who are always asking about being able to do fundraising walks and things like that. So we've been reporting on that as it comes along. Some of them that have happened. The Resurrection School cross-country meet, which we had, believe it or not, in Rye-Town Park for the second year. Everything went safely with that. And the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society had their Light the Night walk on November 1st, and despite the rain, they had a big turnout and raised a lot of money. And we also participated, as you know, because you gave them approval to have the Soul Riders for the breast cancer awareness. They had those beautiful pink ribbons all over the park. It was very lovely, and as they promised, they took them all down at the end of the month, so we're happy with that. And just yesterday morning, at 6:30 in the morning, Larry Rosenzweig, who's I gather lives in Rye Brook, he had applied for a film permit, which we allowed because it was minimally involving anything. There was no noise, so they had it. Basically, they started filming at 7 o'clock yesterday morning, just as the rain was ending, and they finished it up by about 11 o'clock. as
Was that
promised.
the one with the bonfire? And
No, no,
That
no.
was with the zombies. No, there were no zombies involved in this one.
$26,000,
Just
Joe.
Mr. Slack, Councilman, I wanted
Yeah, they wanted to have people running, and screaming, and this was going to happen all night long. You know. So we did not give that
I
one
know,
a
I
permit.
think I was outvoted on that one.
Yes. So then, as far as the park development, we're moving forward on the memorial benches, and we are updating the website, and we have actually the other event that's coming up that involves Rye Town Park is the Rye City Recreation Department's Turkey Run, which goes through the park as a crucial part of its, of the run for the 2.5 and the 5 mile runs. So that'll be coming up this Saturday. And then I mentioned in here about the trees that we've planted since the last meeting, and that's thanks to the Friends of Rye Town Park, who worked cooperatively with us to plant them and make sure that they're watered and taken care of. So I think that's pretty much the highlights.
What's the mistletoe magic event again?
Oh, that's this Sunday, and it's the Rye Chamber of Commerce has this event every year. Basically, they give back to the community. Everything's free. They have pony rides and horse and carriage rides, and they have ice sculptures and all kinds of stuff like that going on in downtown Rye from 12 to 3. And because we belong to the Chamber of Commerce, we're involved in it. And also we donated, as you know, we donated a family beach permit for next year as part of the raffle. And all the raffle money goes to support scholarships for Rye students. So that's
Wonderful. Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Lawyer? Mr. Nowotnik, talking about runs, is the annual turkey trot taking place on Thanksgiving morning?
Well, yeah, has nothing to do with Rye Town
I
Park.
understand, but we're
but
buying
yes.
time here. We're buying time.
In addition to the turkey trot that Rye holds on Saturday, Tamarack Tower Foundation holds a turkey trot starts at Portchester High School on Thanksgiving morning, actually. So registration starts at 8:30. The race starts at 9:30. I think we've asked the mayor if he couldn't start the race. I'm not sure.
The mayor's going to be able to make that. I'll talk to
Okay.
him
Is the mayor running?
And
early. The mayor's going to watch.
then all of the proceeds are really going to support Portchester schools. It's a great fun time, and a lot of families see it as a great get-together to actually run together.
It's a great way to start Thanksgiving Day. If
a lot
you
of
haven't
fun.
been there, it is. It's a wonderful way. I might even try and run this year, Mr. Nowotnik. I might.
Well,
3.5 miles, is that it?
Yeah, it's you can do 3.5 miles, or you can do the 5K type if you want, which is go around twice.
Well, I thought the same. 5K and 3.5 are the same thing.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, okay. Gotcha. Well, there's it's 2 loops to do the full
Right.
5K.
Gotcha.
And some people do
One
one
loop.
some people do
Right.
2.
Perfect. Okay, well, listen, so Miss Britt, do you want to just give her a quick call and find out where she is, Bishop? She just called you,
I
didn't she?
just spoke with her on the phone.
No, I know you
She's
did, but do you want to give her another
literally on her way here. So
call? I know, but I thought she would have been here by now.
Okay.
There's your phone. Let's just, because
That's,
I really want her to hear this presentation.
Yes, I would agree.
Maybe we could look at the correspondence while we're waiting for her to get here.
Well-
Joe, while we're waiting,
Yep.
I would officially like to welcome the commission to our humble abode. And I wish the commission the very, very, very best of luck. And this is a great venue. It's got all the trappings of a formality, as informal as you would like to make it. So we could actually move all the chairs into the area if you prefer to get closer contact. But in all seriousness, welcome and congratulations. This was
Thank you
this
so
was a great
much.
feet, Joe.
Thank you very much. Well, it wouldn't happen without your hard work and support of your board, so we're thrilled to be here. And again, the offer of you taking your normal seat, I'm very happy.
I feel very comfortable right where I'm sitting. Right, George? It's a lot easier.
Exactly.
We are stalling for you a little bit.
How far away is she?
Not there.
Okay. All right. So I'll tell you what. Let's go to. Let's look at the numbers for a second,
Wanna look
Bishop.
at the numbers, okay.
Let's just take a look at where we look, where our best guess is in terms of where we're going to come out this year.
Okay. Yeah, well, you have 2 sets of reports in front of you. We just thought it might be interesting for you to be able to see the amount of traffic from August 31st through September. Again, we had a very short Labor Day because Labor Day was early in the season. But you can see
There she
that
is, okay.
we picked up about $80,000 in revenue during
I
the
only have
month
one
of
report, sorry.
during the month of September.
Oh, here it is, okay.
Okay, there's one that compares to August 31st, and there's one that compares to September 30th.
No, it's okay. Port Chester's a busy venue. They got a lot of things going on. It's tough
Lot
to get
of
around these
stuff.
days.
I think it's a frenzy before the holiday
Yeah.
weekend.
Yeah, the traffic is really, really serious.
The
So we're just looking at the numbers
Got
right
it,
now.
okay.
on a revenue basis, we've obviously had a good year. We exceeded our budget in terms of our revenue budget, not by a lot, but we did exceed it.
So hold on. What's the difference between these two pieces of paper?
The one shows you September 30th, and the other one shows you August 31st. If you want, for ease
okay.
of comparison,
All right, let's just look at the latest.
you can look at
numbers.
the September 30th, 2013, September 30th, 2014 comparison.
Okay, so we're up $51,000.
Well,
Plus.
yeah, we're actually up about $10,000 against budget, but compared to last year, we're 50,000 ahead.
Yeah, but sorry, that's through September. Oh, but there's no new revenues coming in.
Relatively few. I mean, there might be some miscellaneous revenue that materializes.
Okay.
But we don't anticipate very much. What we do have is we still have outstanding Seaside Johnny's. There'll be Seaside Johnny's trash payment that he has to make us, and he also has to pay us for the dumpsters. So there'll be roughly $7,000, $8,000 there.
All right, so we're 51,000 to the good on revenues, and the staff did a terrific job in bringing salaries
and-
down 10,000.
Again,
Right, salaries are down.
So that,
Well, right.
Is that
but
right?
Salaries right now, as of September 30th, yes. But remember, we still have grounds maintenance and security in October. So you will see additional salaries in there. And if you'll look.
this is like for like, last September versus
Yes,
September.
that's correct.
Okay.
That's correct. I think sometimes the payroll slides depending on, because we pay biweekly. So there may have been a shift there. I haven't had a chance to look at it.
And our utilities are down.
Yeah.
Oh, no. the
Sort of,
sewer
sewer's
ta- no,
way
sewer
up, so
tax.
I had a question about that.
Yeah. What
So, yeah, why did we only budget 10,000 for the sewer tax?
We were budgeting based on the fact that we were going to win our in-rem case. And that's the way we budgeted. The in-rem case has not been decided, and it's still dangling out there. If
So just
we lose
remind me,
the
so right now
in-rem
you-
case, it would be $20,000 for the sewer.
So if we win, it's 10. If we lose,
Right.
it's 20? But now we've got 0 right there. Well, that's because we haven't paid anything. all right.
We were advised not to pay because we're,
Right.
in litigation at this particular point.
So, okay, so, all right, so we're using the lower number for that. And interest costs are up a bit?
Well, yeah, our feeling is interest costs will probably come in at 12,000. We haven't calculated that. That's a year-end calculation that occurs in December.
Right. So we're basically break even as it stands, right? And we're down $6,000, $6,750?
Well, projected to be down 33.
well, against the budget.
Yeah, if you're looking at the projection in the last column, we've tried to look at all of the numbers to the best we can, plot them all in. This is pretty much where we see ourselves falling.
Does that incorporate the capital, or is that before capital?
No, capital is down below.
All right.
So off by 33,000 is the projection?
Well, that's my projection. I'm hoping that that's a conservative projection and that we do better. But, again, it's like anything else. We still have 3 months of accounting to go through there.
And if you turn it around in the, as we were just talking about, in the utilities, that could offset that quite a bit, too. You don't see that happening in this period?
No, not really, because what happens now, for example, is we have to have the lights on a lot longer in the park. The park's still active in the fall and even in the wintertime. So we wind up, we'll run the lights from somewhere around 4 o'clock, 4:30ish,
Yeah.
because it gets dark, and we will run them till about 7 o'clock or so in the morning. People are there even Even at midnight, people are walking and so forth. It's a strange thing.
It's a good thing. It's a park.
Yes, no, I totally agree. I just,
So where are our expenses higher? That's what I'm trying to figure out. Where, I know that our capital expenses were higher than anticipated. But other than that, if our revenues are higher, so where, it looks like potentially,
well, if you look in wages, for example,
we're down on wages though, right? Slightly?
no, but that's only September to September. But if you look at against budget, we're a little bit higher
It's $4,000.
on the projection side.
Right.
Okay? And the area that we will definitely exceed is going to be cashiers and lifeguards. And perhaps some security, but the reality is it's really cashiers and lifeguards. We had a great season this year. We got lucky. A lot of weekends actually cashed out for us very well. The rain was confined to the midweek area, so as a result of that, we also had additional labor hours because of that. So,
It looks like we've got refuse removals is higher than expected.
well, yeah, that's a number I have to look at. I have a feeling that the purchase of the dumpsters was accidentally coded in there. If that's the case, that perhaps belongs in capital rather than in operating expense. But beyond that, we've got the formula down. We've been at this now for the last 6 years or so. And
So, and computer services and supplies, that's another diversion.
yeah, that
from
was,
budget.
I don't know if you remember, there was a storm which had heavy lightning early in the season. It was somewhere, help me out, guys, June? July. And as a result of that, because our computers were all fully installed throughout, a couple of them got knocked out with lightning. We had to replace some equipment. We had to bring people in to troubleshoot. Our car counter went down, for example. We had to replace a part there. So there was some unusual activity because of that lightning storm.
So, all right, well, we're going to be, do you remember what our result was last year?
We were positive, if I recall, I think we were positive like $1,200. Does that ring a bell?
I thought we ended up, well, after capital expenditures were down.
Well, yeah, if you consider capital, we were in a loss mode.
So break even and then down $50,000 more or less on capital expenditures last year?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. So we're going to be a little worse off this year?
Yes.
Okay. Great. Any other questions on that? Thank you very much. Okay, now that we have a quorum, I'm going to go to, now that we're recorded, can I get approval of the minutes of the 10/24/2014 meeting?
So moved?
So let me ask a question. I'm sorry. Do you need me to vote for the minutes as a fourth member in
Yes.
order to pass it?
I
Okay,
presume.
that's what I want to know.
And we
Or-
had
or
this
is it-
researched a couple months ago, and Bishop told us that according to Robert's rules, you're actually allowed to vote
Even
to
though you're
approve
not here,
minutes
right?
if you.
Yeah,
if you-
it becomes a ministerial action.
Okay. I was going to say,
But you
though,
can
if-
abst- you can
if-
abstain.
If you could have a majority of
Yes.
a quorum where I don't need to vote for it, then I would just
Yeah,
abstain. If
it's
you need
three.
me to vote
It's
for
three.
it, I have
It
no
would
problem
be. It would be
voting for it.
three with an abstention, and that would still pass the minutes.
Yep.
Good,
Okay.
all right. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
I'll
All
second.
right, Bishop, would you call the roll?
Okay. Okay. Commissioner Brett,
Yes.
Commissioner Pagano,
Yep.
Commissioner Slack,
Abstain.
abstain, and Commissioner Carvin.
Approve.
Okay.
Excellent.
So-
Okay. Mr. Ford, you've been waiting very patiently. You've got a wonderful presentation for us. This is smart energy, smart investment. So I'm going to turn it over to you. You can explain it far more intelligently than I can.
Well, thank you very much, and first and foremost, appreciate the opportunity to come in tonight and talk about an opportunity with solar down at Rytown Park. Unfortunately, we don't have the equipment here tonight to put my presentation up on the wall, the famous wall. If you all have smartphones, I could go ahead and email it to you right now, and you could follow me through your phones if you want to do that.
their technology is probably a lot better than mine, George.
Okay.
I mean, I have one, but I'm happy to just listen.
Yeah, I think-
Okay,
Yeah.
that's
I
fine.
think it's
I
less
figured I offer.
distracting than try, I
But
appreciate it.
in the meantime, I know Bishop and I spoke. We will have that forwarded, and then you can review it.
And
when
would you
you're-
put it on the website as well? Have they put it on the website, the presentation?
Yeah, I prefer the commissioners first see
Okay.
it, and then we deal with it.
Perfect.
So, again, thank you for having me here tonight. This all came about a few weeks back, or maybe a month and a half ago. We had an article in our local paper here in Portchester, Westmore News, about a local church looking to do solar. And specifically, we're looking to finance the project through what's called PACE financing. And I reached out to Councilman Villanova at the Rye Town and offered to come in and do a presentation to Rye Town on some alternatives on how solar can be financed besides PACE financing, which in my
Just
opinion,
to be clear, is a New York State sponsored, if you don't know, New York State sponsored program where if you qualify, you get lower financing, right? Lower interest rates and for longer periods, for 20 years or.
And the community, or the city or town backs.
So then,
backs
then,
down
and
this.
the challenge
We're
then
looking at
is
it
the
right now
town,
for-
we're considering it, it's been tabled.
Okay, we've looked at it, right.
But basically, so that's one alternative, and then Mr. Ford very kindly came and offered a second alternative.
sure. So the PACE finance, to give you a little more clarity, the way it works is the town or the municipality would in essence be financing the project for the entity that wants to do solar or energy efficiency upgrades. So the municipality is in essence on the hook for that money for 20 years through a bank. They're backing it, backstopping it. So I came in and did a presentation for Rye Town, spoke about solar, and then we thought, well, there's probably an amazing opportunity for the park itself and Rye Town as a whole to look at going solar as well.
Excuse me, Mr. Supervisor. Does anybody have an Infinity car? They're blocking the driveway.
I have an Infinity. Is it, what's the, it's across the street? Yeah, that's the one. Is it really blocking a driveway? I'm sorry. I thought it
Okay.
was in a spot.
Sorry about that.
Some hiccups in our new location.
Thank you, John.
It's always the new guy.
Yeah, right. We're all new to this, at least I am.
I know, it's,
I didn't know I was going to be walking a mile to get here.
well, I didn't know.
I
thought you were a
thought
lot
it was,
closer.
so I told you I was part of the old building, because I thought we were on Main Street, close down here. So when I hit so much traffic that I couldn't get through the light,
Oh, no.
I was like, well, Main Street's right there, I'll just walk it. And then I looked at my phone after I'd left the car, and I was like, oh my gosh.
Okay, tout s'explique.
All right.
Well, I think we can proceed.
Sure.
Yep.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So the discussion became a little more evolved from the original meeting about this particular church entity that wanted to look at solar, and that's why I'm here tonight. Some background on myself: lived in Portchester for 9 years, grew up in Rye my entire life. My father still lives in my family home in Rye. My in-laws have lived there for many generations. My father-in-law is been the fire chief and part of the fire department for many years. My brother-in-law, just for, I guess we just complete transparency, is a paid Rye fireman as well. So I know you're very well involved in the community, and Mr. Sack obviously being the mayor, so I want to put that out there. So let's give an overview of solar, and I'm sorry you can't see the slides itself that I have here, but Standard Solar, my company that I work for, I'm the Director of Business Development. We were founded in 2004. Company's headquartered in Rockville, Maryland. We have an office here in New York in Tarrytown and also in California. We operate in 14 states, over 70 employees. We've done over 1,500 installations throughout the country. The first installation we did on the commercial side of the business was the Department of Energy. So if there's a better reference you need than that, as I said at the Rye Town Park, Rye Town Commission meeting, I can't help you if you need anything more than that. Some other just simple facts about the company: we were ranked 23 out of 6,500 registered solar installation companies in America. We've been part of the Inc. 500 top renewable energy companies in America over the last 4 years. Standard Solar as a whole, we do everything from residential to light commercial to nonprofit municipality work, large utility scale. We own a wholly owned subsidiary called Vigilant Energy Management, which does all the operation and maintenance for not only our systems, but it's also contracted out by some of the largest utility scale solar installation companies in America. For example, we handle all of the operation.
Wasn't you? That
It
wasn't
was.
all the operation and maintenance for the NFL football stadiums on the East Coast. So the discussion here centered around the town of Rye and why solar now. First and foremost, the incentives that are being offered by the federal government are they're going to sunset in the end of 2016, specifically the 30% federal investment tax credit. However, a municipality is a nonprofit entity and can't utilize that tax credit, so therefore we would have to come up with some creative financing on how the town of Rye can go solar and make this a viable project financially. More importantly, we continue to see electric rates rise. We're here in the Northeast, specifically in New York. I know not on an every annual basis, but we see typically every few years Con Edison coming to the Public Service Commission asking for a rate increase. And they need that, obviously, to go ahead and keep up with the transmission lines, delivery, increased salaries, health costs, so on and so forth, just like the villages are faced with. More importantly, why solar? Immediate savings, long-term benefit, excellent return on investment, and for a municipality or a town, it allows for budgeting. You're going to know what your electric spend is going to be over the course of time, whether you purchase the system outright or you do a lease mechanism or a power purchase agreement. I think, from this perspective, in New York, and to get a little more into the incentives here locally, NYSERDA, which is the New York State Energy Research Development Authority, is offering an upfront cash rebate for solar installations at this point in time. When I first started to speak with Bishop, and again, this was about a month and a half, 2 months ago, the rebate was set at about $140,000 for a 200 kW system, but there's only so much funding available. And that funding has now been completed in the first block and has now been dropped. So this particular project, if we were to go ahead and look at a system, the most we would be able to get from NYSERDA would be $127,500. So as we talk about why now, incentives continue to go down. So with a sunset on the federal tax credit and the NYSERDA rebates being depleted, we would have to obviously take advantage of those incentives before they sunset. More importantly, specifically to this project here, we started to look at all the bills that encompass the Rye town, which include not only the park. There are 2 meters down at the park, which are Dearborn Avenue Entire and Dearborn Bath, I think it's called. We also have the Crawford Park meter, and then there is 35...
350 north, well.
Right, 350.
We have the caretaker's cottage at Crawford Park. We have Crawford Park itself.
Right.
You're thinking 35 Lincoln Avenue.
35 Lincoln Avenue, right. 35 Lincoln Avenue. And then, of course, the Rye Town offices that have just been relocated to 22 Grace Church Street. Okay. So in New York, what happens is they allow us to go ahead and build one solar array. In this situation, we wouldn't need to go ahead and build 5 different little arrays throughout the whole community. We could build one site and what they call virtual net meter that power back to each individual meter. So if the Rye town as a whole is paying 10 meters, 5 meters, whatever it is, one system, that system calculates the power going into the grid, and then we can allocate that power to each respective meter. Any questions there? And again, it would be more helpful if you could see the slides, and you'll see this when we send off the presentation. How do you get started with something like this? Well, first and foremost, you look at the utility bills. We've done that. I've done some due diligence on the utility spend here at Rye Town and those specific meters. We've looked at locations, and the one location that came to mind was Rye Town Park. And specifically, you're probably saying, well, where would that go, George? We have a lot of green space there, probably not want to be touched. And the biggest part that's unused, and in my mind, I don't want to say being wasted, but it would be the parking lot, where we could do a parking structure canopy, okay? That would allow us at that parking area to build a system that would not only cover the cars there, protect them from the sun during the hot summer months, but we would also be able to eliminate the 5 meters we just spoke of.
Eliminate the what?
Eliminate all 5 meters that we just spoke of.
Right.
Okay?
Because you're going to then distribute from that site to, is there a distance limitation, George?
There isn't, as long as we're inside of Con Ed territory.
It's
So I
not a
can't,
physical distribution.
Right, you're providing power to them, therefore they give you credits.
it's
to-
exactly right.
It's a transfer of credit.
Oh, I see.
Yep, you're getting it counts the amount of kilowatt hours that the system is producing and gives you a credit, and you take that credit and apply it to each respective meter that you want it.
So this is the kind of thing we'd be looking at.
Exactly. And I have some of those pictures in your brochures that would give you an idea of what it would look like.
So we would cover the parking lot, basically.
Correct.
And then that would generate energy.
Yep.
And it would, would we be able to energize the whole park?
You would energize the meters that are there, yes, the entire park, 35 Lincoln Avenue, Rye Town
Oh,
offices.
you're saying, I could do the whole thing?
Every bill that Rye Town is paying would be covered.
Wow.
So that's a collector panel then, George? Is that what that acts as?
No, it's a photovoltaic panel, and again, it's going to be hooked up to a wire. It's going to go into an inverter. The inverter then is tied to the meter, and then the meter sends the power to the grid.
What about aesthetically? Obviously, everyone's going to be concerned about the aesthetics.
Sure. Again, it's somebody will look at a picture, a piece of art, and say, "Wow, I'm not a fan of that."
Cool. I'm saying, can we make these look nice like these?
Oh, absolutely.
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
That's exactly what it would look like.
Okay.
The pictures that are there in your brochure
Okay.
are a very good detail. Those are actual carport structures that Standard Solar has installed.
Okay.
And those are the we deal with manufacturers, a handful of manufacturers that make these prefabricated structures.
And so I know you don't want to get cost specifics tonight.
Sure.
But, so, do you have a broad number, or what are we looking at? And so do we come up with the capital outlay, and then how does it work?
Sure. So, again, this gets to creative financing.
Right.
The way we've seen municipalities or schools or nonprofit organizations implement solar, and we've done a tremendous amount of that work throughout the country, is through what's called the power purchase agreement. You don't own the system. A third party would own it, whether it's Standard Solar or a large bank. It could be Con Ed themselves. There are different financing sources that we deal with that want to own these systems. They would actually pay us to install it. They would own the equipment and sell you the power from that system, okay? Now, you look at it and say, well, where's our benefit? We're buying power. The benefit is if you're paying 15 cents a kilowatt hour today, maybe we could sell it to you for 12 cents, and you'll be able to capture some savings there over 20 years. Those power purchase agreements are 20-year agreements.
Right.
Okay? Then we get into creative financing, which, again, not knowing how this is all going to come about and come together, I have some other ideas where Rye Town will eventually have ownership of the system and not have any payments whatsoever and benefit from all the free power coming from that solar system.
Yeah, I like that one.
Yeah, everybody does, right? Yeah. And I think from my perspective, it's difficult for me to get into that here because this is a public forum,
I understand.
and I don't want to, give away the
House
goods in the
secrets,
store,
sure,
right?
sure,
Yeah,
sure.
exactly. So,
So I guess if we wanted to do something along these lines, we would put out an RFP. Is that the way it would generally work?
again, that's going to be up to the board and the commission and how that would work. I think, from my understanding, we'd have to first and foremost get a handle on who's going to be the beneficiary of that system. I mean, Rye Town pays the electric bills down there, right, at the park.
Yep.
You pay the bill at your new offices or
Yep.
your old offices.
Yep.
So the benefit really is for Rye Town Park. They would be the person or the entity that make, Rye Town itself
Yep.
making the decision on whether
Right.
whether to do this. You have to have Rye Town Park's approval to be able to implement the array at the site, though.
Well, let me ask you this question, and I'm going to ask you and my colleagues here on the board the same question. I mean, obviously, Portchester has a similar situation, right? In other words, have you thought about how Portchester might benefit? And then, again, that same kind of thing in Rye. Obviously, everybody's paying electricity costs.
Sure. Because you are the host meter there at that site, that's why we were looking. We're tying into your
Okay,
meter, and
got it.
when I point to you, I
Right.
mean Rye Town.
Yeah, I understand.
So you're the host meter there.
Okay.
So that's why you're going to get the benefit of using that
Right,
the parking lot.
okay.
Could Rye City or Portchester implement solar? Sure. We did have to find some rooftops,
Right.
So
some
the
parking
park-
lots.
I mean, just to be clear, the park is jointly owned, so and the expenses are borne across the town of Rye and the city of Rye. So it's.
So do you participate in paying part of the electric bill? So
Yes.
then you would benefit. Right.
Right.
Because if we can eliminate,
There would be a proportionate benefit to each
Yeah,
unit.
it's, and it's just to be 1,000% clear. We're the paying agent, but Rye City absorbs 45% of all costs, or I can't remember exactly.
40% of capital and 50% of
Is it
operating.
50%,
So this would be
49%?
operating,
Yeah,
so
so
this
50,
would be
so they're
operating, right.
half of all operational costs, electricity would be operational costs.
Sure.
So they absorb all 50%. So we actually make the payment and then go to them for reimbursement. But as Councilwoman Brett makes clear, Rye City would definitely benefit as well, because we both jointly
of course,
benefit.
yeah,
So,
from
I mean,
the,
and so the other thing that I was curious about is the city of Rye is currently considering opting into the PACE financing program through the state of New York. I don't know if that would provide the opportunity for the Park Commission to use that financing. I don't know if that's something we're interested in. We're looking at it. We haven't adopted it yet. We're considering what kind of restrictions we can put in place.
Actually, well, I'm trying to think of that. I think that, well, I would have thought that they're parallel proposals, not competitive. In other words, I don't think one precludes the other.
so if you can help me clarify what you just said, when you say you are considering Rye City, you said
The
is
city.
considering,
The Wainwright House has approached us
Right.
because they have
I read the
Right.
article about
Yeah.
lighting upgrades, efficiency, heating, air conditioning, insulation.
and they've asked us to consider this New York Energy, what is it?
Yeah, yeah.
I know, I forget the acronym, but it's part of that PACE
Energize
financing.
New York.
Energize New York,
Energize New York.
right. And possibly even as soon as our next meeting, we're going to have a vote on whether or not to opt into that program.
So what Rye City is deciding, to clarify what you said, is you're deciding if you're going to allow any entity, whether it's residential, nonprofit, whoever is a taxpayer in the city, to be able to finance projects, energy efficiency projects, through their tax bill. That's what you're going to be voting on.
Yes.
Right. As far as how that relates to Rye Town Park and Rye Town Park Commission, you guys don't pay a tax bill.
Well, that's currently under dispute, but.
Okay. Right. So, point being is, we're looking at the benefit for Rye Town Park because there are 2 electric meters there. How we get there is, and we could be very creative. We could use PACE financing. We could use a PPA agreement. We could use other financing sources that I don't want to reveal that I.
Right, and I guess
work
I was
with.
more asking whether or not PACE financing became available if the city of Rye opted into this program.
Well, again, Rye Town is its own taxing district, correct? Outside of Rye City's taxing district.
Town of Rye.
Well,
Right.
I think,
Town of-
actually,
right.
well, we're still considering it Rye Town, Rye City's considering it. At the end of the day, if you were to approve, and/or we were to approve, then the choice would be, we become the Wainwright House.
Right,
Right, for yourself.
We then fund the project
right,
at a lower rate of interest and try and benefit that way.
right.
Obviously, it would take away the credit risk, but I guess actually, no, municipalities aren't